Max is back! I fucked that up. No, I didn't. Anyway, we're Almost Agreement. AlmostAgreement@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. While you're in these places, please give us a like, share, friend, and follow. Whatever it is that helps us get the word out. Our website is almostagreement.com. All available episodes are on there, as well as my cool city cheat sheet. That's almostagreement.com/cityelections21. You can go there and get a little refresher on who's running for what, and KGIS, as well as Knox Election Commission links, so you know where to go to vote and that kind of stuff. So, I don't know. It's me, Max, and Sam. We're going to talk about some stuff. That's what I got. So
cool. I can't hear your music though when I call in though. So
that's fine. I fix that in post anyway. Don't worry about it. I mean, we're still going, but yeah, it's fixable in post. But
I can barely hear.
Yeah, well, I just don't hear it.
Yeah, the phone gets a little weird, but you know we do what we can. So anyway, the intro is fine now. Stop, so we can actually start the show. What's new, fellers?
Oh, not much.
It's been a fucking week for me.
Been another day.
Really? Why has it been a week for you?
Well,
your wife broke her leg.
Yeah, the missus duffed it mowing the lawn and busted her fucking leg and chasing around trying to get her in the doctor's appointment. We went to the Tuesday morning. We went to a walk-in place, and she went to nursing school. She decided not to pursue that as a career, but she knows her shit. And so this girl's poking around at her, and I don't know. There's all sorts of codes that the different staff have on their name tags. And if you know what you're looking at, you know what it means. So this girl leaves the room. It's like she's like, I think she's just a fucking X-ray tech. And I was like, what? She's like, she's just a fucking X-ray tech, and she's sitting here pushing around on my leg. That's not she shouldn't be doing that shit. And so it was just like, fuck it, we're out. So they gave us this is my favorite kind of funny tidbit of this whole story is they gave us a CD of the X-ray images because we're like, we're just going to go to our doctor's office. We're going to make an appointment. We're not comfortable doing stuff here or whatever. So whatever makes it faster for you guys to get us out of here and get the information we need to our doctor so we can get this taken care of, whatever, it'd be great. They're like, okay, we'll burn this on a disc for you. That'll make it a little easier and quicker for it. And so that happens, and we go and do the other stuff. And so they give the disc back to me at our doctor's office as we're leaving. And I was like, what kind of file type is that? Can I open that on my computer? And as I'm saying it out loud, I realize I don't have a computer with the disc drive anymore. Yeah. I don't have a single computer that I could put a CD in. And I'm like, oh God, I'm like modern and shit.
Dude, if I put it in my car stereo.
I mean, neither of my vehicles have it.
Really?
Maybe the Tahoe might. It's in the right, but yeah. The 4Runner doesn't. The 4Runner doesn't have any. It's like
aux in on.
Not even an aux in. It's a USB, so it actually does like the Apple CarPlay thing. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. It's kind of annoying. It's got some weirdisms to it.
Not even like your little center console.
Nope. No aux in. It's just It does it. I think it has Android Play or two, whatever the Android version is too. So if you plug an Android into it, it understands it.
I don't like the wireless.
It's not. It's Bluetooth as well, but when you aux in, or when you use that and plug in, it turns like my actual console basically into my iPhone. And so I have a bunch. I don't have all the games and stuff or whatever I have on my phone, but like my Messenger app is on there, my Pandora app, my music app. Like my 3 different podcast player apps, they all pop up, and I could just select them from the screen instead of having to mess with my phone at all.
Kills my phone battery doing that shit.
For sure.
My phone battery already has shitty life.
Right.
Now I've got to give it extra battery power just to transmit to the car to listen to music.
When you Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've been
It's the only way to connect your phone to the car is through Bluetooth, yes.
Well, that's my whole story. Anyway, okay. With my go ahead.
I was going to say, since we're talking about technology, I bought a pair of Apple earbuds.
Oh, like the legit ones?
You know what I'm talking about? Like the actual
Apple brand
earbuds.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're way better than any wireless earbuds I bought. I bought a pair on Amazon. and like they were falling out of my ear. When we went on the bachelor trip, like I bought those, and then like I'm on the plane on our first leg of the trip, and they're like falling out of my ear. They're not staying in. I'm like, these suck. So at our layover, I was like, I want new earbuds because that's the only thing I bought. And I went to the little store and was like, holy shit, these things are expensive. But I bought them. They are cool as shit. Like if I have them just in my ear, just messing around, and you text me, it says from such and such, hey, what are you doing this weekend? And I'm like, do you want to reply? Yes. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing this weekend. Like, you don't have to touch anything. Wow. Like, it just talks in your ear and you can go. And like, when you called, it was like, call from Seth. Would you like to answer? Like, you don't have to say, you don't have to touch anything, do anything. I'm like, this is badass.
I've heard the sound quality is really good on.
Freaking technology.
Yeah, it's getting there. Better every day. But yeah, I got because of the incident with the missus, I had to reschedule. I was supposed to have Christy on this week. I'm disappointed I didn't get that through, but I did have Eva T. I really had a hard time with her name. It's a really cool backstory. I know you guys didn't listen to the episode. Doesn't matter. Eva T. Satterfield. She's District 2 school board rep. I did a show with her. I did a show with her yesterday, and her first name is Evety, Evetty, and that is a combination of both of her grandmothers, Evelyn, Evie, and Betty, Tty.
Huh.
And so like
cool.
It was really cool. Like but it's just like it's like it's hard. Like I don't know. My brain's an idiot anyway. But like looking at it, I kept wanting to add the Lee from like I wanted to call it like Evett Lee or Evert Lee. Like I kept like I don't know why I automatically tried to add that E or that LY at the end every time I tried to say it when I was reading it, and it's not there. That's just me. But yeah, I mean that was the conclusion. We talked for 45 minutes, and she has a really cool story on where her name come from. That's what I learned.
Evety.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it was fun.
Cool. I'll vote for her. She's got a cool name.
Well, you don't get to, so. They are doing redistricting now. I've been looking at a little bit of that stuff. I'm trying to get Kyle to come on to tell me about it since he is the chair of the redistricting committee. I've seen some fun conversations of people that don't understand how government works. Bunch of people like talking about how like they email the school board rep that they voted for or that was in their district when they were voting, and some of the board reps kind of replied that that's not their school if it's not actually physically in their district. But it's like they're all your school. It's not just because Virginia Bab's in District 4. If I talk to see, I can't fucking say it. Evety. See, you did it too. There's no R. Evety.
Evety.
But if I talk to Evety about something going on here at Rocky Hill, she can act upon it. It has nothing to do with the fact that she's in District 1 and I'm in District 4, because the schools aren't the school districts. Election-wise, line up with our county commission districts, but there's no and so yeah, some of the reps kind of have a better relationship with the schools that are in their district physically, but it's all one body. So it's not like you should be able to talk to any rep about it, and if nothing else, that rep will talk to the rep that talks to that school more often, because there's a lot of that. I mean, just because the way the schools line up and the way the school lines are drawn, you have a lot of people that their kids are in a school that they're not in District 4. If I remember correctly, Virginia Bab doesn't have a middle school. There is no District 4. There is no middle school inside the District 4 limits currently. She said she was going to ask for it when she was at because the school board was invited to one of the meetings.
Just get one.
Let's have one middle school, please.
Yeah, I listened to the interview that I sent. That it was actually very short. I expected it to be a lot longer, because she interviews Speaker of the House and Lieutenant Governor.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to read it yet.
She asked them how open it was, and I think it was Cameron Sexton, the Speaker of the House, that said that people could submit their own redistricting map, I guess, as a suggestion. Because she was like, is there open? And she asked if there was open input for redistricting. He was like, yeah, well, we're having open meetings. We're having a meeting on this date and this day, and it's open to the public.
Right, and anybody...
So people could send in their own maps.
And, I mean, obviously the House Redistricting Committee is contactable as the individual House members.
Yeah.
I don't understand what's the point, like the redistricting thing, other than gerrymandering. Like, why is that even a thing?
I mean, the big deal is, though, the Compass guys put up a cool thing. Let me find it real quick. Not that you can see it since you're not here, but you have
population change.
Right, you have the population change. So essentially, you take Knox County, which is right at 500,000, and we have 9 districts. So that's 47,000 people or so per district. Because what you don't want to have is like, you don't do it by geography, you do it by people. Because what you wouldn't want to have is a small section of downtown that has 100,000 people squeezed into it, being one district, and having one representative, where people up in your neck of the woods in District 8 have square footage or square mileage wise, like District 8's like a third of the county physically, but it has that same number of 50-ish thousand people in it. So that your one rep in District 8 is equivalent in voting, people that live in the county to a District 1 that's a more urban, more densely packed setting. So District 1's like physically the smallest district in the city. Or maybe it's District 2.
By square footage.
Right. It's got the most people per square mile in the district because they had to do it that way.
Because, as Cartman put it, poor people tend to live in clusters.
I mean, that's not untrue, I guess, but...
poor people ain't living in city district.
Clusters. Get it right.
I'm right. But yeah, anyway, the Compass put a cool thing out, and it's got some of the stuff that they're working on. And like it actually has like an interactive map. I'm trying to find it. But it's like an interactive map, and some of the different ideas that have been thrown out so far are in it, and you can kind of click on it and see how it kind of moves stuff around. But again, back when I had Scott on from Compass a couple weeks ago, we were talking about it. The brass tacks of it is that for Knox County at least, it's not going to change anything. Best case scenario in a full-on super gerrymandered as you could do it. Just throw everything out and redraw it in the most Republican way possible because we have a Republican majority in the county commission. You're still going to have a 10-1 of the 11 commissioners because it's 9 districts plus the 2 at-larges. The 2 at-larges are always going to be Republicans because the county as a whole is Republican. So right now we have 7 districts that are red, 2 districts that are blue, and then the 2 at-larges, which are red as well. And so, like, at best case scenario, you could chop up District 2 a little bit in county and maybe get it to turn red. But then what's the difference in a 9-2 and a 10-1 on any voting conversation they're having?
Yeah.
So, like if we were a 6-5, then gerrymandering and redistricting would be a really big deal. And so I'm interested in it. I do want to talk to Kyle about it. I want to learn more about how the process works and why we do what we do and how we do it, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, for us locally, it don't mean nothing. Even statewide.
But it's still more fair than how the country's set now.
What do you mean?
I'm saying on like presidential elections and stuff versus, where, yes, we are more red, but by population, we should be more red just because how it's set up.
Right. Right. We locally, yeah, I get what you're saying. Because we locally are, I think, by the numbers, I believe that the county commission is fairly accurate at a, let me lame it down to be a little easy. 8-2, I would say Knox County is probably 70 to 80% right-leaning at least. Realistically, so even with some gerrymandering, it's not going to be that county commission is fairly accurate to what the population here is.
Yeah,
maybe, I don't know, because you look at the city races that aren't partisan, but they are, and that's a 9-person body that's 7-2, 8-1.
I don't think the county makeup reflects the county left to right.
You don't think the commission matches the population?
No, I don't think we're 80 to 90% Republican in Knox County.
Okay, I'd be curious to to explore that.
Do you think that sounds right?
I mean, I think it. I mean, like we have 4 House districts that cover the county, 1 Senate seat, one in a little bit of
State House.
Right.
Okay.
And do we have 5? Because we have 5, and it's 3-2, so that's a 60%. There's Lafferty, the other Biggs, and Manis, which Manis isn't really a Republican, but whatever.
Senate.
Huh?
Senate, right?
No, State House. Massey State Senate.
Massey Senate. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's either 3. I don't know if it's 5 or 6. It's somewhere. I don't know. We could look it up. I'm sure, but because then you have Sam McKenzie and Gloria Johnson are our 2 Democrats locally. I guess actually this might be wrong.
More county commission. Sorry.
I know, but I'm just saying I'm comparing. I'm trying to compare other bodies that elect to that body, to the commission, and that. So I'm trying to think about making evidence for your claim or against your claim. And so I'm asking, I guess what I mean, do you think that Knoxville's 55-45? You think the countywide it's closer?
Maybe 60-40.
Left, right?
Maybe 60-40. Maybe 70-30, but I don't think it's quite 90 to 80% Republican in Knox County.
I mean, I'll go with you on the 70-30, but I don't think it's anywhere near 60-40.
I mean, I'm sure there's data for it. I'm sure I could ask Matt, and he could pull it up. I mean, we could go to the commission the election commission website, and we go precinct by precinct, and that's really where you get down to the brass tacks of it, because
but that's people that vote as well, and then
right,
and even then,
right, and that is a valid tidbit too, to say that, like, I don't know, we'd have to go back and pull that up too, but I mean, I want to say it's like 6,000, maybe 8,000 total votes in that city primary.
Yeah.
Of right at 100,000 eligible voters. So less than 10% voted in that primary.
Right.
It'll get over that in the general, but not by much. And so, but I guess to me that pushes back on on what you're saying, because
better numbers going back to the 2020
right
elections.
But I think what that says is that that in the city, at least in the city races, the Democrats are more active than the Republicans are that live in the city. Or the more left-leaning people are more active in city politics than the right-leaning population is. Because what little percentage votes tends to vote left. I mean, that's all. That's the only premise I'm getting at there. I don't know, honestly, if that's true or not. I'm just saying that it kind of stands to reason in my head, at least. But
sounds like both sides did a piss-poor job of pushing people to the polls.
Yeah, I was really disappointed in that. I figured that we'd at least have a significant uptick in turnout, just coming off of I don't know, maybe it's hangover from the craziness that 2020 was, but just I don't know. I guess my assumption was that some of that fire was still there, some of that excitement and some of that engagement that people got into in the 2020 election would roll over, and it turns out no. But I mean, I still think even despite our great efforts in telling everybody in the county that elections are coming up, I think people didn't even know. I think people see those yard signs and go, "What? What District 2? What is District 2?"
They advertise. Is that a plumber?
Yeah. I do need to email Chris at the election commission and get his top 5 complaints, because he always talks about how people complain about certain names aren't on their ballot, and it's like. Huh. It's like he's like when he was here before, he said something like, "It's like I guarantee you, I get a call on why Jimmy JJ is not on the ballot, because he's already announced, and so everybody knows that election's coming up, and so people think they can go vote for sheriff in the city race, and it's like, no, he's not part of this thing." But it's madness out there.
Funny.
So I'm trying to think of what else is going on. But
mayor sent a letter to Biden.
Yeah, I did. I actually I screenshotted that to myself to hold on to it. And I don't know. I guess let's. I do want to look at it. Let me share it to myself so we can put it on the big screen for you at least.
I had to read through it. I just saw the article that was talking about it. And I think the Tennessee Attorney General also sent a letter.
Yeah, I did see that as well. Ooh. All right. From the office of Mayor Glenn Jacobs to President Joe Biden at the White House. Dear President Biden, I'm writing regarding your impending executive order mandating that all businesses with 100 or more employees require COVID-19 vaccines for workers or implement weekly testing. Knox County will not comply with your mandate. As the chief executive of an organization that employs 2,700 individuals, your action adds financial, legal, and regulatory burdens that will ultimately impact Knox County taxpayers. In addition, it potentially hinders our ability to attract quality employees, since many folks in our community will not work somewhere that unjustly imposes vaccine mandates. As a fellow elected official who has sworn to an oath to uphold the U.S. Constitution just as you have, I am alarmed by the alacrity. I don't know that word. Help me out. ALACRITY. Alacrity? I don't know that word. I'm alarmed by the alacrity with which you issued this order, contradicting both Article 1, Section 1, which vests legislative power in Congress, and the 10th Amendment, which recognizes the sovereignty of the states over the people over matters the Constitution does not delegate to the federal government. Blah, 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 blah. So,
well, let's go back to before Biden got elected, when Trump was talking about this vaccine that was coming out, which is the current vaccine that everyone's taking. And Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden both went on TV and said, the government can't mandate you to take a vaccine. Like, there are multiple public addresses, not like some website you looked at, like them speaking and you watching them say that no way, Nancy Pelosi, there's no way the government can tell you that you have to take a vaccine. That is just not anything. There's personal blah, blah, blah. And then they get elected, and now they're going back on what they said.
Right. Which sadly is not surprising on any matter ever anymore. But
no, I think we've talked about this before, but it's, when Trump was talking about he had this vaccine that was coming out that was going to help people, and all the Democrats were like, I'm not going to trust this vaccine until we have a lot more research, and, I'm not going to be the first person to take the vaccine. Like, they went on and went on and went on about this, and then they're in office, and now they're like, take the vaccine, take the vaccine, take the vaccine. And then it's funny that now all the anti-vaxxers, which are more Trump supporters, are now going, oh, I'm not going to take the vaccine. It's like...
Right. It's
like our country is a bunch of children. Seriously, right? Like, I'm not going to do it because people I like aren't telling me to do it.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's 100% what is going on. And then there's the handful of people that are just sitting in the middle going, I don't know what the fuck's going on at all right now. I don't know who to trust, who to believe, who's what, where. Like there was a Fauci one recently. It was Sanjay Gupta. He was on whatever show Gupta hosts. And Gupta was asking him, he's like, hey, so I've got some people that I know that have been calling me and asking me about, with some of these vaccine mandates and like New York City's kind of vaccine passport thing that they're kind of working with or whatever. It's like, I've got people that just had it and got over it. And there's studies that are now showing that natural immunity is more effective in the short term.
Who is saying this?
Fuck, I don't know. God damn it. I don't have a fucking Rolodex of every time I hear every fucking thing. Is that I'm sorry. That was, I apologize. I don't know. I don't know the specific study, but I've seen it a number of different places from a number of different fucking people that...
I mean, if that's growing up, I'll say some people are saying this and some people are saying this.
Okay. Never mind. New topic. Move on.
I didn't mean to stop you in your track.
No, because it doesn't fucking matter. I can't... anyway, doesn't matter.
There's
natural immunity doesn't exist.
Natural immunity exists.
And
there is a tiny fraction of the scientific community that is saying natural immunity is greater than the immunity that you get with having the vaccine.
Okay. But so if I have natural immunity, whether it's greater or less than...
I heard that
or whether, okay, it doesn't matter. Whether it's greater or less than whether it's greater than less than the immunity provided by the vaccine, do I still have to get the vaccine to have my fucking passport? Can an antibody test count as for my vaccine passport, or do I still have to get the vaccine?
What vaccine passport are you talking about?
You can't go.
This is not a thing.
It's not a thing anywhere?
No.
Okay. Then I guess everybody that I listen to everywhere is just
you
making
get a
shit up.
vaccine card when you get your vaccine.
Right, like New York City, you can't go into a fucking restaurant without proof of
I think you had to show proof of vaccination.
So
there are concerts that are saying either show a proof of vaccination or a negative.
right now, and if it was the business doing that, or if it's the promoter of the concert doing that, I have no issue with that. But when it's the state of New York or the city of New York requiring that of their businesses, that's where I get a little offended by it, politically speaking. Still, point being, if I actually survived COVID last week, I have millions of antibodies in my system still, but I don't have the vaccine, and I can't go out to a restaurant in New York, where, as far as I understand it, which is limited, I know, I am just as safe as people that got a vaccine a day ago, a week ago, a month ago as well.
Maybe.
So we're okay with the government mandating action, requiring businesses to do X, Y, and Z on maybes. That's a good thing. Maybe. Maybe you're better off. Maybe you're not. We don't know. Do what you're told. Maybe.
Yeah.
We should do
That's what we live
the
off
opposite
of, maybe.
without scientific basis.
What's the opposite without scientific basis? You agreed with me that there is some such thing as natural immunity, and it does exist in this, and there's conversations about whether it's as good or better or worse than the vaccine at large, but it does exist. And there are people that have survived COVID, like a lot of people have, recently, that haven't gotten the vaccine, who can't go to a restaurant, can't go to a concert in certain places that are requiring things like this.
How do you prove that you've had COVID?
An antibody
You're
test?
just gonna... Antibody test doesn't tell you that you've had COVID.
You have antibodies in your system? Doesn't tell you that you've had it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Anyway. Moot point, I guess, because I don't have the papers to pull up and show you. But
the antigen test.
The one you sent, I'm sorry, that was just... It was 13 times. Somebody that's had the vaccine is 13 times... less likely to get COVID.
I don't know. I got that one. I got that one from Jesse at the Compass, and I trust him as a source.
That was honestly where I stopped reading. I was like,
okay,
literally 13 times. I was like,
I tried.
This is illogical.
I've tried to curate my media consumption to a small group that I trust, and Jesse at the Compass is one of them, and that's where I got that one from.
And what did you say? Say that again. 13 times what?
It's way back in the. It's in our text thread. It'd be way back in there. But say it again. I don't remember the headline.
I think it said that someone with COVID has 13 times the protection, essentially, of getting COVID versus someone with a vaccine.
Right.
According to this paper,
I remember it breaking down into like 4 categories. It's the no vaccine, no prior. What's the word I'm looking for here? Okay. No vaccine, no prior infection. You're most at risk to get COVID or any of the variants and have real harm from it. Second on the list is vaccine only. Third on the list was previous infection only. And then fourth on the list was vaccine and it is your most protected if you have both. Which again,
some they're calling like the super protectors or something. Right. People that have had COVID and then got the vaccine.
Which again, we don't believe that paper anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But I mean, that would make sense to me that you would have 2 layers of antibodies going on to prepare you to fight that virus, because you have your natural version as well as the chemical Pfizer version.
Yeah, that makes complete sense to me.
Right, but this is a paper that had been published but not peer reviewed yet. And I think that was where that paper got questioned. Am I remembering that correctly?
I'm not sure what the question was. I mean, a lot of the peer review just takes timing.
Did you go back to?
I mean, you're submitting it to other peers to peer review or whatever. I don't really. Not 100% sure how that process goes.
Yeah, it gets sent out and other people read it.
It goes out to the community and everyone was like, okay, sure, I'll read this and I'll give you a review.
Right, I'll sign off and say I think you're right or not or whatever. I don't know how that works. But, did you go back and look at listen to that Rogan episode about the taint size thing that we were talking about last week, 2 weeks ago, that I got laughed at by the scientist?
No.
I mean, it's a real thing. This lady's been studying it for fucking 30 fucking years.
I got confused because you had that, and you said you
right. There's two different
misinterpreted with something else you had said, and I was like, I don't remember what the hell we were even talking about with the taints.
Yeah. Well, it's basically
something about taints getting closer together
because of plastics. Yeah, plastics in the water are fucking with dudes' taints, and dudes' taints are the easiest way to measure fertility rates. Basically, is what it gets down to. Is that something about plastics in us as humans,
right,
in moms, that gets transferred to a male child, and that we shrink taint sizes. What I was conflating in the conversation we had last time was that this shrunken taint size thing had something to do with
fertility?
No, it does have stuff to do with fertility, but it had something to do with the testosterone issues that then brought into question whether that brought up some of the new why trans has become such a big thing more recently. I mean, the math follows to me, but those were two different Rogan guests on two different topics talking about. One was talking specifically about testosterone and the way testosterone works in the human body and stuff like that.
I may have to go back and listen because physiologically, it seems kind of weird that you could shrink the area space on a body.
I mean, I don't know if it's bad. Like it's one of those things. They went out and they measured it. Like she actually gave him a testing kit as a gift for being on the show, and it was like a calipers, like just standard calipers, but they'd rounded off the ends because most calipers are like super sharp or whatever. Yeah. So they rounded off the end. So it's basically you're measuring. Like there's a technical word for it, but it's butthole to ballsack is basically what they're doing. And they go through and they find a bunch of kids. They find a bunch of pregnant mothers, and they test their.
How do you know where the ball sack ends? Really?
That's a good question.
It all just kind of flattens out.
Well, I mean, they're doing it on babies too, so it's a little bit more. It's a little bit less descriptive, I guess. Distinct.
So
I mean, even then,
I got a question for you guys.
That's okay. Hold on, before you guys the question, I apologize. Just to finish that. That's why I got jumpy about you. Like, where did you read this shit? And it's like, I don't remember which of the sources I do and stuff like that. And it's like, I got jumped on. I mean, AC jumped down my throat about this taint size conversation. And I did screw it up a little bit. I get it. But it was a accredited research doctor who's been working on this project for 30 years, whom I heard it from. And I couldn't remember the specifics at the time. And I get beat up because I can't quote the fucking scientific journal it was in.
Sam only recognizes liberal media sources.
Okay, I mean, whatever.
All right. Anyway, I wanted to get that out.
The question I have is,
Yeah.
has science ever been wrong?
Always, all the time.
Like when it comes to vaccines.
Always, all the time.
People can say like, oh, you don't believe in science. Like, these are scientists telling you about a vaccine.
No, I mean, all the time. Like, I mean, the easy one, and not that we're comparing COVID to the flu because that's a sin. But, I mean, the flu vaccine, they've talked about it for decades. It's a guessing game. They're guessing which particular substrain is going to be the one that's most popular this year.
Well, that's what I'm saying, a guessing game, but like completely wrong. Because you can go to the CDC.gov and look up vaccines, and like there's one 1998, 1999, the rotavirus vaccine. They started giving it to children under it's a birthing vaccine they were giving. I say birthing, under 12 months old. And then they found out that they're giving children that was approved. This is a FDA approved vaccine. And then they found out there was causing obstructions in their bowels, and their bowels were turning over on it. And so they end up withdrawing the vaccine and saying that they do not recommend anybody taking this vaccine. So it's like there's so many instances.
Right.
I mean, there's 2005, 2008, the HIPAA vaccine, 2007, the influenza vaccine, H1N1, 2009, 2010. Like, there are so many vaccines that they realize we were wrong. This is not something good. And so, I'm not saying that the COVID vaccine is not a good vaccine. I just don't. All these like nurses and like, it's science. Do you not believe in science?
Well, it's like you go back to the beginning of it.
Making this shit. It's like, that does not. does not do justice to say that because there are scientists that said this is what it does, that this is what it does, you know?
Right. Well, it goes back to the beginning when we were talking about the political version of it where, you know, Pelosi and whomever were, you know, semi-anti-vax when Trump was still president, and now all of a sudden Biden is, and they flip to it. It's that same thing. It's that same level of you were outside peeing when we had this part. Don't worry about it. I remember specifically Harris saying she would not take a vaccine that Trump created, but anyway, that's beside the point.
Which is funny because he didn't create it,
right?
You know?
But it goes back. Yeah, it's the
he wants credit for it.
It goes back to this whole thing where we get to where we are obliged to trust whichever version of what we're talking about, whether we're obliged to trust the CDC, we're obliged to trust the FDA. We're bad people if we question it or if we have questions about it. We're bad people if we question what the president or the vice president's doing. We're obliged to trust these bodies no matter what they're saying, even though we have mountains of times where they flip sides. We're obliged to trust the FBI, the ATF, because it's okay to go in and kill a bunch of kids in Waco. Don't worry about it. You know, this is the structure we somehow live in now, and I think it's become, especially with this super polarization that we have going on now, I think it's just gotten to become a worse version of that. It's you're obliged to trust it when we're in charge, and you're Satan when you don't. And then when it switches sides, which it probably will here come the 22s, the House and Senate will turn red, and then we'll have a little bit more Republican power in the federal government, and then things will start switching sides again.
And then 2024, when Trump gets reelected.
God, I don't know. I don't even want to go down that road. I mean, I don't know.
He's saying he's running.
Sure. I mean, I wouldn't.
I thought he was going to get reinstated like this month or last month.
You're right. You're not wrong on that.
What?
He was going to get. He'd been going around saying he's going to get reinstated because they're going to find all the stolen votes and the rigged election shit. Yeah. And they're like, "Oh wait, no, you're right. Trump won the election. Never mind." I just think
I know there's still states that are having debates and recall. Arizona had something but at this point, literally, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Arizona all said we found fraud in the election and Trump actually won the election. Do you really think that they're going to be like Joe Biden, get out of the White House, Trump get in there?
God, I don't know how that would work. That'd be a very interesting civics lesson, to say the least.
Because
if they
Trump
were able to
never,
prove it would dispute the election.
Like, because Trump never succeeded. That's not the right word.
I mean, I don't think there's any scenario if they were able to prove that was the true result of the election, that they would not then say, sorry, you're not the president anymore. Like, we have found this new information that is verified, everything. Sorry. And whoever messed up, but Trump, you are now president. It'd be a crazy process.
I agree 100% that it'd be crazy. Like, what
if it was verified? Because you couldn't leave someone in office if they found truth.
Right, I follow.
They were not the true elected president.
But what would that do? What would that do to our electoral system at large, moving forward? That would be
a double-edged knife, because I think it would show that the true process played out, but also that they fucked up in the earlier sides of it. Right.
I just say well, in the past, it's been like, you know, a president realizes like, oh, he has no chance of winning, and then he concedes the election. And so now the election is over because he said, all right, they're president. So it didn't matter if it came back and said, wait, you actually won the election because you already said, I lost, you're the winner, good luck with your presidency.
Right.
But in this case, Trump never did that.
Right. And they made a big showing of telling Biden that if he lost the election to not concede either, because they wouldn't believe it going into or coming out of the election immediately either.
I don't know if conceding has any kind of legal standing.
I think it does.
Really?
I think so.
I think it does, because they're like, oh, he You know, you see all the time, like, oh, he called and congratulated him. He said you won. You know, but yeah, I don't know for a fact if that has any legal. But I would say once you said, okay, you won, and you acknowledge that, and he's the president. I mean, yeah, I don't know factually if that's actually correct, but
right, but that
seems like that's how it is.
That is the norm that we've lived in for a very long time. I mean, that has been the norm that whomever will concede, but it's usually because it's clear they're gonna lose.
Right.
Like I would be curious to know. I mean, like the Gore Bush. I don't think Gore conceded.
He did
eventually, or night of.
I think they had already because they went into the whole process of counting the hanging chads.
Right.
But there was a point. I don't think it took more than a week or two before he actually conceded. I don't think he didn't allow a long drawn out dispute of the Florida elections. I think it all centered on Florida recount.
Yeah, Miami-Dade County. The only reason you know that it's Dade County.
But I think, I that's a good question. That'd be something interesting to know, like if that actually means anything.
Once you say you concede, you're like,
we probably don't know.
All bets are off. Like he said, he quit. He quit.
I mean, I don't know. It could. It you know, it makes it essentially it makes sense to me. I acknowledge that I'm not. I didn't win. It's not my job. I'm not in the running anymore. I'm out. You can't make me do it.
Yeah, is it like UFC when you tap out and then go?
That wasn't really.
You're done.
Well, I mean, there was a big fight.
I just said, "Ow, that hurt."
Right. It's like he punched me right here. And I was just kind of rubbing out the bruise, you know. But I'll have to look that up at some point later. But
ask your freaking political people. You got people in the election commission.
I know. I will. I will absolutely ask them if I'll on a
officially
local
concede.
Right. I'll ask it on a local version of it. If a candidate officially concedes,
would that negate them saying, "Hey, I want a recall"?
Does it matter? Does it matter what the count is? So if it's up to election night and I'm running and first couple precincts start reporting, I'm like, man, I'm getting killed. All right, you win. Good job, buddy. I quit. If that actually functionally means anything,
winning.
Right. Yeah. If they end up winning on the total count on the other side, because some precincts that I thought there was no chance I would win, all of a sudden turn out for me somehow or something like that. I'm like, that was unexpected. I don't know. It's a good question. It's interesting. I will have to find that out because I know people, and it's fun. That was exciting. Like both Christy and Satterfield were like, they're really excited when I emailed them. They're like, yeah, I want to do the show.
Yeah. Who was it that I think you mentioned that somebody was?
Yeah,
you don't have to say their name, but they were like, surprised you never asked me on.
Yeah, that was Eva T. Eva T was like, yeah, I want to do your show.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like, I mean, I laugh when we were at eBay and there were some people and we were talking to a couple, and I was like, I gotta go. I said, I got a podcast. Maybe we gotta go. I got my podcast at 8, and they're like, you got a podcast? And I'm like they're all excited about it, and I was like, yeah, it's not really that great.
Way to sell it. Great salesman.
Who's not that?
Jeez.
No, but it's funny. People are like, like I'm Joe Rogan. Like, I got a podcast to do. You could have a podcast. It doesn't take much.
It's functionally fairly easy to put together.
Yeah.
But
it's hard to get 13 followers.
I mean, we got them. AC is our Twitter guru. So all of our Twitter's action is due to AC's brilliance, and that's why we have 13 of them, and we're way past that in Facebook, which is the one that I deal with.
Well, because AC's not on Facebook, right?
No.
Yeah, because I think I sent him like a Facebook Messenger, and then I was like, I don't think he has he has a Facebook, but I don't think he does Facebook. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't think he's going to get this.
You got to slide in those DMs on Twitter, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter.
You need to get our TikTok pages. You're the TikTok pro.
Oh yeah.
I don't want China.
I don't know. TikTok's not. I mean, you need video. It's more video than audio.
I thought you were about to say TikTok's falling out of style. I'm like, what? TikTok is not the new thing anymore?
What's the new thing? I think TikTok's still the new
Tumblr?
thing.
No.
No, yeah, I think TikTok's still very popular.
There's another one. This was a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you guys heard this story. There's I don't remember the guy's name, but he's been around. Anyway, he's trying to launch a Twitter spinoff, for lack of a better word. And he approached Trump, and he's like, "Trump, come be a part of my social platform, or whatever." And Trump was like, "How much do I own when I sign up?" Which I mean, which on the politics side of it, that's kind of gross for a politician to be like, But realistically, that platform will only functionally exist, maybe not only functionally exist, but for the audience that this guy is trying to build the platform to,
right?
It will go from this little platform's out here doing nothing to having millions of active users because they want to get on there and follow Trump,
right?
And so, because
he kicked off. He's off Twitter, right? He got kicked off or whatever.
Yeah, I think he's banned for life on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram.
Well, how is that a thing?
I mean,
seriously.
Yeah, it's the conversation about what is it? What is Facebook? What is Twitter?
I think Facebook got kicked down the road again. So I think he had a temporary ban, but I think one of the last things that happened a couple months ago was they were going to re-decide upon it in 6 months from then. So I think there's still another ruling to decide how long he's banned from Facebook, which I think then ties into Instagram or whatever.
Why did he get banned? Because you don't like his political view?
I mean, it was for inciting a riot, I guess, was the official.
I don't think it was just that sole incident.
I don't know.
I think it's just kind of the general violating, quote unquote, terms of service or whatever.
Right. They have a whitelist of.
They have a what?
They have a whitelist. Facebook has a whitelist of blue check marks, like good, highly active people that have a bunch of followers that a lot of standard users follow and stuff like that. That they're when a post gets flagged, it goes through a different process for these whitelist people than it does for a regular person. Like if I did a post on X and I'm not on the whitelist, the algorithm does what it does, and if it gets flagged, I get kicked off or whatever the different point of it. But if I'm a whitelist person, it actually goes to a employee of Facebook to review directly.
That makes some sense.
I don't know. The question is that but the idea is, or at least the question in play is then, is Facebook treating a certain individual differently because they bring more people to the platform? Because it's in their best business interest, even though, I can't remember what the story was. It was Neymar. Neymar was the big story. Neymar, the Brazilian soccer player.
Right.
Apparently some lady had accused him of some sexual misconduct with her or something like that. And he went and posted a bunch of naked pictures and shit of her and was really just going after her and making her out to be a liar and a terrible person or whatever like that. Most of which violated terms of service, but Neymar's got 30-something million followers. And so all his
I thought you had friends on Facebook, not followers.
What? No, well,
I guess if you set it up as a business, and
right? It's a personality page, not him as a person. But so while the person at Facebook is reviewing his posts, they stay up, and so these pictures start circulate wide because he has so many friends or followers or whatever. While they're deciding whether or not they need to take him down, where if I posted a naked picture of anybody on Facebook, it gets taken down immediately. Because I have a couple hundred followers and he has 35 million.
Well, about immediately.
Right. Well, as soon as somebody reports it, it gets taken down for the review process, where since he's on the whitelist, it stays up while they're reviewing it because it's important to keep him happy and on the platform. That's the thing.
That's one way to look at it, yes.
I know. I always look at it the worst way. I'm such a fucking cynic. I hate everything.
Or it's, they look at it as
I don't think you
someone
hate as much stuff as I hate.
Constantly sharing things that are followed, that are within guidelines over and over and over and over again. They have a track record for just putting out posts without any issues whatsoever. So, yes, they then get put into a category that this is someone they don't have to worry about as much.
That's a generous way to look at it. It's fair. Okay. But yeah, that was an interesting little story that I heard on somewhere that I don't remember exactly the source.
I think I was reading earlier, going back to TikTok, that apparently it's some new thing now on TikTok for high schoolers making videos of stealing shit out of like school bathrooms, like stealing, just taking soap dispensers. Apparently it's called slicking, I think is the new word for stealing. Slick or
Slicking?
Slick.
I don't know.
Some of these new kids and their newfangled ways of talking.
I was about to pull the AC. Get off my lawn.
Yeah, but apparently, there's TikToks of kids just like going into their school bathrooms, I guess, stealing toilet paper, breaking shit, just doing stupid shit, and apparently it's just popular.
The kids these days.
Some new thing.
I don't know. I mean,
another way to get clicks.
They're a bunch of fucking assholes.
Yeah, well, I mean, just people are fucking assholes, especially in bathrooms. My favorite bathroom story ever is.
I mean, that's the crazy thing about like our whole internet-driven society and social media-driven societies. People want to be followed, feel like they have people following them that like them, that they just start doing crazy shit and to get more clicks, get more likes, get more followers.
Yeah,
feel like they're influencing people.
And it's a career. It's careerable.
Is your favorite bathroom story, Seth? You doing The Exorcist at my wedding?
No, I don't remember that.
Is that your favorite?
I know.
I almost chimed in on that post.
Well, that was back when,
because you were encouraging somebody. I'm like, no, please, as the person that had to help with that, like, please don't recreate that.
No, I was talking back in the day when we were on the Strip, and when those in motion paper towel dispensers first came out. First game day, we had them on in the bathrooms there. They were, before the end of the day, they were torn out and sitting in the sink.
Hmm?
Like those wave your hand at them paper towel dispensers. Yeah. Like back when we were working on the Strip together, that's when they first came out, and our company had ordered them, and we'd installed them in the bathroom or whatever. And the first game day weekend, we had them in there, which was like 4 days after they got put in or whatever like that. It was like 4 PM. They were ripped off the wall and sitting in the sink, both of them.
No rhyme or reason.
I mean,
there's
one of the. Go ahead.
I was saying, my buddy Todd, he's got a bar out in South Knoxville, and above the urinal, he's got like these they're like aluminum metal signs, kind of like beer signs, but they're like pin-up girls, and he's got a bunch in the bathroom. And for whatever reason, the one above the urinal, someone keeps on punching. It dents it and then breaks the drywall or whatever. So he had like 3 weeks in a row of someone punching it and then breaking the drywall. So he put screws behind the metal sign that faced towards somebody punching it.
Oh.
And yeah. And so if you look at the sign now, I was there last weekend, and there's a few screws, like someone tried to punch it, and there's some screws hanging out. But hopefully they didn't get too far on that. So I was like, that's fucked up. I think it's fucking hilarious.
Creative solution.
Punching the sign.
I was thinking, you just get like a steel plate behind it so he can't break the drywall and it still breaks his hand, but that works too. Either way, the couple of screws facing backwards probably is a lot cheaper than a steel plate. So
yeah, I
understand the logic. Well, it's like one of the fraternities. I don't remember which one it is, but the bar that the missus used to work at was one of their fraternities. When they'd throw a party, they would pay their deposit twice because they knew they weren't getting it back. And one of the things they did at all their parties was they'd go in and they'd rip the light fixtures out in the bathrooms. Like that was their thing.
Well, we know how fucked up those college kids are on the Strip.
For sure.
Shit they used to do. Jesus.
Yeah. But like, I mean, at least they acknowledge it. Like, I appreciate the fact that they're like, you know what? We're going to do it, and we're going to pay for it at least, and we're not going to just leave here, and you're going to take the regular deposit that you take and have to fix this
another.
Seth, do you remember the waterfall off the top of the building?
I do.
That was pretty crazy.
I do indeed.
Not anyone really cared. It was a nice invention, but it really wasn't so much as.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. Yeah, like even forget the waterfall part of it. We have it was 2 dump trucks full of sand. It just came and dumped sand.
Yeah.
So they turned our patio into a beach, and they built they built a pool, filled it up with water, and then had a pump that pumped it up to the roof, where it ran off the roof down into the pool as a waterfall for some tiki whatever mixer party.
Yeah, like they went all out, right?
Yeah.
Jesus.
I mean, my dad used to do when my dad was in school, he was the treasurer of his fraternity, and he's like, you have no idea, like the amount of money we'd spend on just stupid stuff. And it's like, well, actually, Dad, yes, I do have an idea because I've seen it in action. And so,
How much I spent, but I saw it in action.
I completely understand.
I don't know the numbers per se, but I know the things that they do with the money they have, and so
Which were not cheap.
yeah, which
Oh yeah, like they scheduled like I remember at one of those fraternity parties. I can't remember the name of the band, but I was like, hey, like, man, you guys got like cool music. What do you charge? He's like, oh, we charge like $800 for 4 hours. I was like, well, that falls in line for what we're paying. And they're like, well, don't tell the fraternities like that. And I was like, what? He's like, we charge them $5,000 to play here tonight. I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, they have that in their budget. Like a band is about $5,000. So like, the bigger bands like charge the fraternities $5,000.
that's impressive.
I'm like, that's fucking nuts.
Yep.
Like you said, yeah, we'll play next weekend for $800, but yeah, we're playing for $5,000 tonight.
That's crazy. I like it. I like it in action. So the one story that we did have some comments on that I did share, that Axios story about the Kamala team.
The Kamala team?
Yeah, the Harris Veterans launch firm to protect CEOs from being canceled. Remember we were talking about?
Oh yeah,
I said that article and we chatted about it. I got that off of it was on Crystal. Well, no, I got it. It was referenced on the Crystal and Sagar show, and then I went and pulled up the article. But Crystal and Sagar were talking about it, and honestly, because I got yelled at about the taint thing, I was like, I'm going to share this with the group, but I'm not going to share it as me telling what I heard on my podcast about it. I'm going to share the story that they referenced on the podcast, so that I'm not pulling stuff out of thin air like I tend to do apparently. And so, I don't know. And so that was where some of my take was on it, because that was what Crystal and Sagar were talking about, is that it's basically a full on racket. So it's an Axios article. First look, Harris Veterans launch firm to protect CEOs from being canceled. And essentially it's a, what do they call it? A consulting group that you go to that you pay to help with your PR. And, I guess the generous interpretation that Sam would like to put on it is it's just to help you be better at not getting canceled, where the Crystal and Sagar interpretation.
That's not what I said. I mean,
what did you say?
Kind of. Don't remember what exactly I said. I said I didn't get that out of the article.
You didn't get out what I said, that it was our
I don't see
Jeff was saying it was more of an extortion.
I don't see it as an extortion. Are they the only person in the game? Are they the only PR firm?
Do you know of another?
If people have nothing else to choose from, then maybe. Then
that would be a monopoly, not extortion. But the premise, the extortion part of it is
extortion. You can't be extorted per se if that person doesn't have other options.
Well, no, you can definitely, like, I don't know of another, do you know of another PR firm that deals with how you, as a CEO, do not get, have cancel culture hit your company?
I mean, that specifically, I'm sure there's PR firms out there that
do some work on that topic, but not specifically.
So, do you have a PR firm that's
just a general PR firm?
I'm sorry, Max.
I was saying, do you know of a PR firm that's backed by the Democratic Party?
I'm sure there are.
In today's society, it's a fucking coin flip where it's 50-50.
That's a fair point, too.
Yeah. But, like, all those people that are people that worked with Kamala Harris, worked with Obama, worked with Clinton, worked with, like, everybody in that whole entire
You're just going down the conspiracy theory side of it.
Oh,
no.
Because you're going back 20 years. You're going back 20 years. People that were in the game 20 years ago are not in the game anymore.
So
they don't know those same people.
I mean,
when they're like, your company is racist, or, and they're like, oh, no, wait. They work with the Kamala Harris's people and Obama's people, and they've been working with them for the last 5 years to, it gives them, I don't know,
some
feather,
stature.
It gives them a feather in their hat for they're trying to do the right thing. So then those people that are wanting to have that cancel culture be like, well, I guess they're trying to do the right thing. They're working with this company versus a company that's not working with anybody and gets approached by that cancel culture, and then they're like screwed. Like, it's a feather in your hat for saying, hey, we're trying to do all the right things.
Right, but
and so that's where I wonder where it comes down to is if you don't work with that company, they're gonna be like, well, why is this company doing this? Well, we approached them and they didn't want to work with us.
I don't see that. I don't think they have a big enough name recognition that people are going to be like, oh, you're not with Acme Company? Well, then you must be from the dark side.
I mean, but how long does it take for it to be, this candidate is endorsed by, or this business, rather, I guess is a better point. This, essentially, maybe not the right wording, but this company is...
I mean, if this
there's a stamp of approval,
viral, maybe, but I doubt if you asked 100 people, 98 people, at least have never heard of this fucking whatever PR.
Right,
firm
because
they're
it's
calling
an
themselves.
emerging market, is what they're the leading edge of
emerging market.
I mean, that's what the story says.
But
it is entering an emerging competitive market.
You're right. So you're saying that most people aren't going to heard this company. But then you're like, I've never heard of that company. You're like, oh, yeah, it's like Kamala Harris's people and Obama's people and Clinton's people. And if you're on that side of the fence, you'd be like, oh, well, it's those people's people, so they're okay.
I think this article mentions one person that was on Kamala Harris's election committee.
Yeah. And it mentions someone that was on Obama's. And
you're just assuming that it just ties to anyone else in the Democratic Party.
No. Hold on.
I mean, I don't see this in the article.
I mean, the first sentence, a group of Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign veterans.
Okay.
The first sentence says a group.
Okay, so someone that was a part of her...
Wait.
Right, and then it goes down and it says...
Let me go back to that. Let me go back and find the article. Where is it? There you go.
It says,
I'll tell you who
I mean, you act like this is fucking new. I mean... the fucking game at higher echelons. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, you hire high-end law firms, you hire high-end PR firms that do this shit, and those people are in the positions that they are because they have connections, yes. I don't think it's going to influence people that much. I don't know.
No, you said only Kamala Harris. Melissa Probler, a litigator and former in-house counsel at the Clinton Foundation.
Okay.
Brian Martis, former Clinton era treasurer.
Minion Moore, former political actor of President Clinton's White House.
Era treasurer. That alludes to them being part of the Clinton campaign, but that's just a treasurer during the Clinton years, which was an 8-year period in the U.S. history.
Right, and one of Harris's closest confidants is on the board of advisors. I don't know.
So we have ties to Kamala Harris
and the Clintons.
And the Clintons. Okay.
No, there's somebody in there.
That's a cabal right there. I mean, they've got the market cornered because
I don't see. I guess here's where I see it differently, and I get kind of where both of you guys are coming from. Where I see it differently is that you have this cabal of people that, like you said, has years of contacts and influence and people that they've worked with and stuff like that. Who this is where I see it as the real racket. It's you need to hire us, big corporate company, Coca-Cola. You need to hire us. We can protect you from the woke mob when they come for you because there's something that we can figure out that they'll come for you for.
Why did they have that much more power over the woke mob?
They don't. They create
exactly right there. Your initial response right there is they don't.
They create they create the woke mob, and that's how they get. That's how they prove their existence.
Okay, they're going to create the enemy that they're going to fight against you.
No, they're not. They are the enemy that you're fighting. That they're protecting you from. That is racketeering.
I thought you said they're going to create the woke mob. They're going to protect you from the woke mob that they're going to create.
Yes, that is racketeering to a T. Do you know racketeering? Do you know what racketeering is? Like old school, good old fashioned Italian gangsters of New York mob style stuff was big thug dudes come into your bodega or whatever, and they say, "Hey, you need to pay us for protection." And they're like, "No, I'm cool." And then those same thugs come in there and tear your place up. You didn't pay us for protection. This wouldn't have happened if you would have paid us for protection. That is the take that I understand this of through my
How do you get that?
Listening.
How do you get that?
Do what?
How do you get that?
Because of the
where do you see in this article that they are threatening that if you don't sign up for their payment plan, that they're going to throw you under the bus and send the woke mob after you?
I'm not saying.
I am.
They're gonna throw.
I'm asking Seth here. He's the one that is seeing this whole racketeering thing.
It is the inference of why
that is
why. Okay, so why would I hire this company? Like, why on earth would I hire this company?
Why does any company hire a PR firm?
I don't know. I'm asking you. What does this make sense for? Like, why would I need this? I already have my own PR team that I have on staff. Why do I need a third-party PR team? Why would a company like this be functional to exist unless that their lead statement means that they have some control over the, it says it in here, quote, getting canceled. It says something about woke in here anyway. They have some control over your ability to get canceled. They can protect you from being canceled. They're not saying they're going to fix your problems. They're just saying they can protect you from getting canceled for the problems you have. How can that exist if you're already cancelable now? How is anybody going to find out that you need to be canceled? How is anybody going to find out if your company needs to be canceled? They have to go and dig into it.
That they're going to leak things against the company now? How else would anybody find out?
I don't believe that.
I don't know how else to explain racketeering any better, so I'll just leave it alone. Go ahead, Max.
No, I don't. In my case, I don't think they're going to be trying to leak stuff to the woke community saying, "Oh, cancel this people because they don't want to pay for us." But there's the threat of, this whole cancel culture that's going on right now, and they're saying, "Oh, you don't want to be canceled. You need to pay us." It's just like the shop over in Brooklyn when the mob comes in. It's like, "Well, your place may be robbed. I don't know if they'll be robbed or not, but if you pay us, we can help you not get robbed." And so they're not going to rob you, but now you're not protected, so you might get robbed. And that's the kind of thing is like, you're not going to get canceled. We're not going to do anything to get you canceled, but cancel culture comes after you. You don't have any defense. And I think that's where it comes down to, that if you pay for their services, then you don't have to worry about the cancel culture, because if the cancel culture comes after you, they're like, wait. No, they work with these people.
It's basically that I have black friends. These people and these people. It's his argument.
Yes.
I have black friends, so you can't come after me on this. Right. That's Max's in a nutshell, which I don't 100% agree with it. I get where he's going on it, but I don't 100% agree with it. But okay, so maybe a better question is,
I didn't get this from this article.
How does
whatsoever? It just sounds like a fucking just glorified fluff piece for this new company.
How does
they say, "Hey, we're this new PR firm"?
How does a PR company like this do any good for actually any of the legit parts of the woke issues that are at play? How does this actually help protect a trans person at work, or how does this help? How does it actually positively affect the community at large with a company like this? And you're doing your PR work for you. It's not gonna. It's not. It's not saving. It's not adding more diversity to the workforce of the company that hires them.
No,
I guess Max's argument is that
I don't know 100% what this company exactly does.
Okay.
If they're just a like a lawyer there when issues come about, or if they're right there in the forefront putting out videos and commercials, montages.
Montages, great word.
Montages.
Beautiful word.
Of how diverse this company is or whatever. If it's a preemptive thing, I don't know what the fuck this new company is actually doing.
Okay.
I saw it more as just some fucking PR firm that corporations hire on a day-to-day basis to keep themselves looking good. That's what a PR firm does.
Right. Okay. Okay. So I guess what this
it sounds like a consulting PR firm, essentially, to where maybe they can look at your business and say, "Hey,
here's some
what you
things
guys are doing.
Here's some things that you could get in trouble for. This is what you have
on paper that says is your mission statement. You may want to think about." Because that's an open source mission statement.
This part on your mission statement where you say you don't hire black people, that's a problem. You need to fix that.
Right.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
No,
all right, so
not what you're trying to say.
So to summarize, kind of, and it's kind of the accidental theme of the show, which I didn't mean to do, but like it. I guess what I get in trouble for most on the show with you guys is how I source. Right.
No, not you. I get in the most trouble for that.
Well, you do have some issues with that as well. But I guess the question is like, so I guess what I'm getting at to further discussion is I agree that I need to do better about following up on instead of just taking whatever I hear from one of my sources that I do like and I do trust and just say, well, I heard it here. It must be true. I need to do better about following up on that. But I do feel like I've done pretty good work as far as curating my input sources to some solid trusted sources and at least understanding the biases of the ones that I do have that have a specific bias. Like my part of the problem, my Dave Smith podcast, he is a like full on super angry libertarian and he has a full bent on that. So everything is on that angle. And I understand that from him. And generally I agree with a lot of his stuff because I tend to lean that direction, but I understand that he takes any story and he leans it that direction. I don't see a lot of specific bias out of Rogan that I did necessarily agree with, but Rogan's one of my most common sources for a lot of the weirder stuff like taint sizes and stuff like that, obviously. And so like I've tried intentionally over the last couple of years. Jimmy Dore is another one. You want to get real crazy. Jimmy Dore is the most progressive I've ever even heard open their mouth. And I agree with him on a lot of stuff. And so I guess that's one of the issues that I'm having trying to.
Are you a progressive libertarian?
I don't know what I am anymore.
Is that such a thing?
No. I just think well, because I mean the Jimmy Dore specifically, he is hardcore anti-war, and that's one of the libertarian things that I'm hardcore anti-war on, and so those are a lot of that stuff. But I mean, he calls out, he calls it like he sees it, and he takes it from a progressive bent. But there's a lot of stuff where it's. Pelosi or McConnell or whomever is doing XYZ, and this is why it's wrong, and this is why it's wrong is his opinion part of it, but it's like, this is the story, this is what they're actually doing. He understands the moving parts of like how DC works better than anybody that I've ever listened to, or at least he understands it and can explain it.
Yeah, that's a lot of what it comes down to.
Because like his big thing is like, the progressive caucus of the Democratic Party in Congress and stuff like that. They have enough numbers now to make certain, like to force certain issues. And because he was trying to get a force to vote on a Medicare for all system thing going. And with the 50-50 split that the Senate is now, and then I can't remember the perfect numbers, but it's only a slight majority in the House. There's enough progressive Democrats that are part of the progressive caucus that they can hold things up for the Democratic Party as a whole by not playing along.
Right, by voting or not voting.
Right, and so he was trying to basically, like he was trying to get the progressives in Congress to not give Pelosi the chair or the speaker of the House again,
right?
Unless she guaranteed a House vote on Medicare for all. Because with the split, if all the Republicans did what they did and all the rest of the Democrats did what they did, that last like 9 or 10 progressives that were there would have been the difference in making that vote happen. And so like the actual functional gears working, that's what I like Jimmy Dore about. Like he really understands how the system works, and he's really good at breaking that down. But he's super progressive, and I appreciate a lot of his insights on it. I don't necessarily agree with him, but I listen to him for him.
Really, it's looking at it from a logical standpoint,
right? And again, like
strategic, I guess. Yeah.
So, but that's my general source set is I do Ben Shapiro, I do Jimmy Dore, I do Crystal and Sagar, I do Dave Smith, and I do Joe Rogan. Those are my main news source out there. 3 of them are comedians.
That's what I was saying. You go to some of those 4 news.
Yeah. I like them better than a lot. I mean, I understand that. Like, I can understand. I get a deeper insight on whatever the specific story is, especially Rogan with the 3-hour shows. But
you go to Rogan for news.
I mean, I don't take. I'm not going to him when I see. I liked some of his takes on the Afghanistan withdrawal and stuff like that. But I'm not like, oh, what happened in Syria today? Let me go turn Rogan on. No, because that's not the show he does. He doesn't do a news show, but he will get topical on certain things with certain guests where the guest is the pro at it. And, so he'll have different.
I'll give him that. He does bring in good guests. Yes. And
so it's, I guess Rogan isn't the source. The guest is the source, but he's on the Rogan show. Gotcha. Or he or she is on the Rogan show. Hence the taint woman.
The Rogan show, not you're getting.
Right. And I like Rogan's personal takes on it. I think I think on a lot of issues, he and I would agree on a lot of issues, but, there's some stuff I don't agree with him on, but that's,
What don't you agree with him on?
Bow hunting is preferred to guns. Like, he doesn't do guns. I think it's lame. He bow hunts everything.
He's just more of a
well,
traditionalist.
That's more of a.
Some people feel like they really need to hunt down the animal they're hunting.
Right? No,
they're like, you got to get close.
Yes,
you're not hunting.
Yes, right.
It's not sport if you're a mile away.
Right. I didn't have a list in front of me when you asked the question to pick from. I was just throwing something off the top of my head.
Right. I get it.
And that's more of a preference than.
He tends to
hunters that way,
right? But he tends to lean into more of he wants more social services. He thinks social services can make the difference in X, Y, or Z issues. And I don't. I
thought he's pushed against some of those.
Maybe. I mean, it depends on the specific. But I mean, I think that's the thing I like about him is it's case by case for him. It's not, and so a particular thing, like he's generally complained about the homeless issues in L.A. until he left, and he kind of semi-advocated for a while to try to, we need to do better about this. We need to do stuff about this. California needs to step up. LA County needs to step up or whatever. And then he had a guest on that, actually knew and understood the different stuff that California was trying to do and how much money California was spending on the homeless situation. And then the lack of...
was that the one where he had... It was after he'd moved to Texas, but it was like the mayor of...
Mayor of Austin.
Of Austin, okay.
Yeah. That might have been that show. I don't remember exactly, but I think you might be right.
Yeah, where he's like, well, no.
Right.
Austin has this homeless basis, but a lot of our homeless are actually people that have moved from other, from Dallas or Fort Worth or whatever.
Right. But basically the whatever the mayor's name was saying that he said that he went to something, there was like a mayor's conference or something kind of like that there were some California mayors there and they were talking about it. And because that's one of the big issues for a lot of mayors, obviously. And he was talking about how much money California spends. It's a bit. I think it's a B. It's at least $1 billion they spend annually on homelessness, and it's getting worse every year. And so anyway, as mentioned at the beginning of the show, I tend to lean against leaning on the state to fix problems because a lot of times they make problems worse in history as I see it. So to ask the state to do more when they can't do what they're supposed to do correctly seems kind of, I don't know, counterintuitive to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one kind of general issue that I don't agree with Rogan on. Because he tends to think that we should. But he also doesn't try to do anything specifically on that topic because he also knows he doesn't understand how these systems work to do anything about it. So. But Crystal and Sagar's become my favorite, and that's news. That's they do 3 or 4 a week, and it's an hour long, and it's national news. Bank. Yeah. And they go into a lot of stories that you don't hear anywhere else. Nabisco's on strike right now. Anybody? You guys know about that?
Nabisco?
Yeah, Nabisco and Frito-Lay. Are they the same company? I don't remember anymore.
No, Frito-Lay.
They were owned.
Oh yeah, that's right. Right, you're right. Pepsi. Yeah, but Nabisco. There's two of the biggest production facilities in Nabisco are on strike right now, as well as I guess it's Missouri or Arkansas Frito-Lay plant is on strike right now. The Frito-Lay one's crazy. They're on strike. Apparently they have what they call suicide shifts, where it's you work a 12-hour, you get 8 hours off and work another 12-hour. But it's literally like you leave at 7 p.m. and you have to be back in at, 3, 4, whatever, how many hours is that? Yeah. You got to be back in at 3. So you have 8 hours to go home, get some sleep, do anything else in the world, and get back and do another 12. And like mandatory overtime and like stuff like that, and like it's just
mandatory overtime.
Yeah, like some crazy.
Are they
stuff.
doing? I mean, the question is that because of the COVID thing? Or?
I think that's some of what like I think some of it existed anyway, but it's gotten worse from employment issues because of COVID. Like
yeah, I really like your whole COVID property's down. We didn't discuss that, did we?
No, we haven't yet. No. I didn't get a chance to read it, but yeah, essentially, I mean, and I don't know, like it is totally counter to my libertarian core principles or whatever, but Andrew Yang's UBI was interesting. It was something interesting to look at. I don't know how much I believe in it being a functional thing, but I thought it was at least something worth being really discussed. And really broke it down.
You want to hear something that'll make both of you guys sick? Who's that? Damn it! What is his name? He's the preacher in Texas that
Olstein
on TV. Olstein. Who?
Olstein, right?
Is it Texas? No.
Yeah, Joe Olstein.
Yeah, Joel. Yeah.
He's getting $1 million a week from COVID money.
Getting $1 million a week or giving?
Getting.
Okay.
What, in like PPP loans or what? Like.
Yes.
I mean, I would assume that
he essentially has like a mega corporation of how many people it takes.
Yeah, he's got a lot of employees. Yeah,
production. Yeah. No, but you are a fucking church.
I agree.
Fucking church. Like, I'm sorry, I'm religious or whatever, but like, what purpose are you serving other than employing people? Like why the fuck so in a year's time, the federal government gave him, $52 million?
Yeah, that would be the math, yeah.
What? Because you're a fucking church?
Yeah. How many Learjets does he own?
No, yeah, exactly. Like, what the fuck is going on that, our government was like, oh, you're a church, so we can't have you go under Joel Holstein or whatever.
You're too big to fail.
Well, so I guess the question at play is, should nonprofits be eligible for a service like this?
No, absolutely not. That is, fuck you. That pisses me off.
As much money as they're fucking making?
I mean,
totally. I mean, even outside of that, but yeah, even asking for that much outside.
I agree on the specific. This one specific that this is gross. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. But I'm just saying nonprofits in general, because they all fall under the same tax class, and I would assume that the way that the PPP stuff was written is that you have employees, you do a thing, whether you're a for-profit or a non-for-profit, we're still going to give you access to these PPP loans because we want you to keep your people working, or at least keep your people paid while they're not working, because we need it for general economy and life and stuff. I'm just saying, and again, this goes to the problem of the centralized power problem is you can't reasonably audit this in real time.
Yeah, and and Joe Holstein, he has a fucking TV show, right? The money he makes is not from the people, majority of the money he makes is not from the people that attend his church. It's from people watching on TV and shit like that, right?
It's the old arena.
We'll pray for you.
It's the old arena that the Rockets used to play in or something like that. It's a basketball arena is his church.
I understand that, but I'm sure the people are still watching him on TV. He was still having his broadcast. He just didn't have people in person. He's still fucking making money.
Right, and people have their monthly subscriptions or their monthly donations, rather, that they do to the church that continued regardless of whether they showed up in person or not. And unless
he charges a $20 entry fee to go to church at his church,
right.
Which Like, and he's like, oh, we're not doing it in person, so I'm losing out on, $100,000 from my people that I charge to come to my church every fucking Sunday.
All right, and again, I 100% agree with the specific of the Olstein church, mega church debacle, and this is gross, but I'm saying it's like, should a Carecuts or a Meals on Wheels or a soup kitchen of some sort, should they get access? Should they have gotten access?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, like that's a hard. No, I completely understand what you're saying, because it's like, oh yeah, like a soup kitchen that's feeding, I don't know,
right? Some homeless group,
300 people a week or whatever.
That's a not
should they not?
profit.
But then,
so is the church.
Again, a soup kitchen. Where are they getting their money from normally?
I mean, donations and or. They probably have grants and some other stuff in place as well, but I mean, probably mainly donations and volunteers.
You really want to compare
the
Carecuts and fucking the Joel Olstein Megacore?
I'm comparing
which one is not for profit.
No, I'm not trying to compare them. I'm trying to highlight the problem with the tax system that, for all intents and purposes, the federal government looks at the same.
Carecuts religiously based?
I don't know.
No, well, no.
I'm just talking about nonprofits in general, which it's a whole
saying
sub-bracket.
is, but like for what you're talking about, a soup kitchen or a Carecuts or something like that, they're not losing money because of the whole Corona thing.
Right, but
it's not like,
I mean, there's a lot of nonprofits that employ a lot of people for whatever purpose that the nonprofit exists for, and the point of the PPP loans was to keep employed people employed.
Yeah, but like how were those people prior to Corona? Like what you're talking about, soup kitchen, you're talking about Carecuts, you're talking about that kind of stuff. They weren't making money off of a bunch of people together. You know what I mean? Like how were they affected by the Corona restrictions and stuff like that? Like
I mean, they were funded by donations. And I'm sure they got grants from the city and the state and probably federal grants as well.
Right, and I would say some of that has to do with headcount and stuff.
How were they?
I mean, I don't know the specific. I'm just trying to highlight. I mean, we've already had the conversation about how terribly executed. Go ahead.
Seth, hold on. Hey, Jennifer works with Carecuts. How does she get funded, baby? Can you guys hear this?
Yeah. Well, we had Carecuts on the show.
Yes. I didn't ask her how she was funded, though. Max, I can't hear her at all.
Okay, she said that she gets a lot of money off of Facebook, and when she went down and did the Carecuts, they had like a COVID policy that the people couldn't come on property to get the meals. But you said you guys set up a table on the sidewalk to give them meals. So they weren't getting clothing and showers. But financially, how were they affected negatively financially? Would you even know with COVID? No, like because. So that's. I know Mayor Kane comes down there and people so I'm sure that they get grants or stuff. But what the difference?
Max, I understand your point, and I appreciate I appreciate the insight, but I understand the point that their funding is not off of. I get it. Their funding is not off of. They don't have a lot of actual employees.
People,
right, most of them are volunteers.
Getting together.
Right.
But yeah, she's not making money off of getting people together.
Right. She's not selling the meals, so she wasn't losing income from less turnout because of restrictions or anything like that. I get it. I've just tried to say that again. We've talked about it on a personal level about how stupid the PPP loans were in execution and how easy they were to throw them out. And so there's been a big stink about how many state reps. I mean, Manis apparently got a couple million over the span of one of his PPP loans, but he has a bunch of employees reasonably. But You know, I mean, I don't know. Again, my whole point was that I'm sure there are many nonprofits out there. CareCuts maybe not the greatest example, that actually have a significant sum of paid employees because of whatever the special work that they do is for their nonprofit. Should they have been ineligible because they're a nonprofit, like the Osteen Church is a nonprofit, presumably? I'm assuming they're a nonprofit, but even if they're a for-profit, it doesn't matter.
But what I'm saying is, these places like that, how were they affected by COVID restrictions from getting the funding that they need to survive? That's the question. When you're saying, if you're a food kitchen and you're feeding homeless people, well, if you can't feed homeless people because of COVID restrictions, then you're saving money. But how did you bring in money to do that to begin with? It wasn't because you have to have, 300 people there to feed to get money. You had the money to do that. So where were they getting the money? The difference between the churches is he's saying, "Oh, my congregation can't meet because of your restrictions, so now I'm losing money." Well,
but I think what you're missing is
the fucking case. You have shitty fucking congregation.
I agree, but what was the point of the PPP loan? It was to keep companies from laying people off, firing people, cutting their staff down. It was to keep people, air quotes, employed and getting paychecks.
Yeah, in a normal situation of how we operate a business and for how businesses operate, if you, with COVID restrictions, you don't have people coming in to buy your services.
Right.
Now you don't make money, you can't employ people. But from a place like a church, like, how are you losing money? So
I mean, okay, so my parents' church, for example, they have paid custodial staff. And when they shut down and didn't have the need to clean the place because nobody was coming in and out, the reasonable thing to do as the employer would be to lay them off because you don't need them to do the job anymore.
So when your parents couldn't go to church, they were like, "Well, if I can't go to church, then I'm not going to donate to the church."
I don't know. I could ask and find out, but.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you're a church goer and you are a person that tithes,
but we're also running off the assumption that Osteen is a greedy bastard, which is probably true. Which would be.
But what I'm saying, if you're a good Christian, you give 10% of your tithe. That's what you do. You're like, I'm going to give 10% of my tithe because that's what God says that I need to give 10%. And you're a good Christian. Why did you stop giving your 10%? Because of the COVID restrictions. You're like, well, fuck that church.
But that's what I'm saying. Even if they did continue to tithe, the greedy bastard, allegedly, maybe that's the right legal way to say it, where the alleged greediness of Osteen would lay those people off to just keep all those tithing monies for whatever he wants to do with them and not pay the employees because he doesn't need the employees then. And the point of the PPP loan being you have to keep your employees on staff or you won't get this money. So
what if he charges admission to that giant mega?
Well, that was a joke.
I already said that. I was like, I wonder if he charges.
But my point is, it doesn't matter if he does or doesn't because he has to have staff there. If the church is open,
make a big difference if he does charge admission to be on TV.
That's true, but I'm saying if when he had his church open and people were coming in, he had to have a bunch of staff there, ushers.
Right, but I would also say
guys running around with the collection plate.
He was getting more money in collections off of people calling in versus how many people donated.
I 100% agree. But I think we're all missing the point here. The point is that if we're assuming that Osteen is as greedy as we say he is, we are alleging he is, that he didn't need to keep the staff on for the physical church itself because the bodies weren't coming in, whether they're tithing or not, doesn't matter. The point of the PPP loans was you have to keep these people on staff or we won't give you this money. So he keeps the people on staff, he gets the money, he continues to get the tithe, but now he doesn't have to kick the tithe back to the staff, he gets to keep that either way. So he wins either way, yes. But it kept 100 people, 200 people, 500 people, I don't know how many people it was, getting a paycheck.
That didn't have that much money in reserve. Like most people, you know, they say are 1 or 2 paychecks away from being on the street. It was more to help businesses that are running on those shoestring budgets.
I agree that was the point, but the failure in execution was that it's anybody that has any employees, tell us what you need, and we'll give it to you.
All right.
Don't fire your employees.
If a company operates in the mindset you're talking about of being a greedy bastard, those motherfuckers should not have got shit, and they should have went out of business. And then those people could have went to a business that I should care from. I don't agree with your thought process.
I 100% agree with everything until that last sentence you said, because I think my thought process is accurate to the reality of the world we live in. The problem in this is that they put together a stupid plan for the PPP loan and the other COVID relief things where they just threw money out the window and had no way of controlling it on who got it, who deserves it, air quotes, and not. And, you know, in a supposedly equal free society, who is who to choose, who deserves it and who doesn't. And again, I agree. You could put some parameters on it very easily that could at least make it more logical.
That's the one downside to making it easy to apply for the PPE loans. I mean, that's the downside to any kind of good program. You make it easy for people to take advantage of it. I'm
not trying to glorify the church and saying he's doing a good business thing by doing what he did. I'm just saying that, just like anybody else out there, when the government throws money at you, you're going to take it if you can.
Yeah, and I'm not mad at Joel hosting for doing that.
I mean, I think it's specifically antithetical to who he presents himself to be, and so there's a problem with that. But no, it's a governmental issue. It's not an individual who took it issue.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the same thing. Like,
that's what I was trying to say the whole time.
I'm not pissed off at somebody that's on welfare that keeps on popping out babies to get more money. Like, I'm not pissed off at them. I'm pissed off at we have a system that allows that.
Right. It's an incentives conversation. I mean, you're incentivizing the wrong...
You're going to get pissed off that someone that sets up like a free cheeseburger thing, you're going to get pissed off at the person giving away the free cheeseburgers, or the asshole that keeps coming up and changing shirts and just grabbing a free cheeseburger?
What?
I don't get it either, but go.
Okay, you've got the government, a person giving out free cheeseburgers.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Then you've got Joe Schmo that just keeps putting on different colored T-shirts to keep coming and grabbing more and more cheeseburgers.
Well, what
are you going to get mad at the person giving away the free cheeseburgers? The government?
I think Bush said it best.
Giving away something to help you get along, to have a fucking meal. You're going to get you're not going to get mad at the person just grabbing free shit for no reason.
No, if the government...
This is more directed at Seth that was just making that point.
No, what I'm saying is if the government hires people that are too stupid to realize that I changed my shirt and went up and got a cheeseburger, then no, that's the government's fault for hiring stupid people to not realize to change my shirt.
Right, you remember?
So because you've changed an LLC, they should be able to know?
You remember Bush with Osama bin Laden or whatever? It was... Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, he did it wrong. The right way to do it, and this is my response to your cheeseburger thing. It's like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And your example does that perfectly. And our government is really good at being fooled 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 12, 15, 22 times over and over and over again because they don't bother putting any checkpoints in place. They don't bother putting anything reasonable in
regulation.
I mean, if they're going to give it out, they need to do something with it. Yeah, I like how my libertarianism is always the thing.
I think they've already prosecuted many people for taking advantage of the PPE loans. They tried to offer it out there as goodwill, and there were people that took advantage of it, and there are people that are being prosecuted for it and are having given that money back.
And I agree with that wholeheartedly. Like, if you were deceiving the government, like, I guess that goes back to
it was put out in goodwill. It wasn't put out as just, here, take this, have fun with it.
I'll change my stance on what you said.
You had to apply for the PPE loan.
Hold on. I'll change my stance on what you said. Yes, if you're changing your shirt and you're deceiving the government, then that is fucked up. That person should be prosecuted. But if you are following the law to the government on what you are entitled to because of the government programs and how the government has set up that situation, then no, do it. I could be pissed off that the government is allowing that to happen. I'm not mad at the individual for it. So I take back, yes, should not be able to change your shirt because you're deceiving the government. But if you were following guidelines, if a company like Amazon can say, I'm following the tax laws, how they are written, I'm not deceiving, I'm not doing any fraudulent stuff, and at the end of the year, I don't pay any taxes because how the government has the tax laws written.
That's how Amazon had the government have the tax laws written, but yes.
But what I'm saying is, like,
right.
I'm not mad at Amazon. I'm mad at the fucking government for allowing that shit to happen.
I'm mad at Amazon because Amazon lobbied to get the taxes done that way, but it's still the government's fault for allowing Amazon to lobby them into doing what they wanted to do. But yeah, I mean, it comes down. I think it comes down to it's.
I'm not okay with people breaking the law to get that stuff.
Right.
I agree with you, Max, wholeheartedly.
I think we all agree on this. Really, I don't know why it took that long to get there, but like
I was thinking about it until you said that. I was like, wait, no, I backtracked. Like PPP loans, we got PPP loans for our business. Did we need them? No, we didn't need them, but
I mean,
it was available to us,
and. So to be honest about it, we didn't know what tomorrow was. Like we didn't know where we sat and what was going to happen the day after we got our loan.
Exactly. Yeah.
My and because we tried to apply for the second one and we couldn't get it because we couldn't show a loss over the time period that was required.
Yeah.
But and I tried to talk to the bank person about it. It's like, but what happens if they shut down tomorrow? Like, what if they shut us down again tomorrow? Or we didn't ever have to get shut down because we fell into the essential category somehow, reasonably.
Like you said, they had parameters upon it.
Right. But, it's like it was, the second round was at least written better to take some of it out. But it still didn't really, I was concerned. Like when I was doing the second round of application, I was like, I understand this and I can appreciate the rules they put in place here. But we're still not out of the woods on this conversation, which we still aren't even now. But if they shut us down tomorrow because they want to shut down, places of transmission or whatever they're going to call it for their reasoning behind shutting us down, and I'm not eligible for the loan anymore, or I've already failed the loan or whatever, and so then I don't have anything, and then we're going into a whole different animal. So I don't know. It's just it's a failure in government as per usual, I guess is the point I'm still getting at.
How did they fail? We started out with talking about how we actually decreased poverty and decreased the amount of people that went into poverty because of these PPE loans. And
I don't know. I need to go back and read it again because I don't know how much that program did it. I don't know. I'm curious to follow the whole.
I would wholeheartedly believe that it prevented many, 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 many of people from going into poverty because of stimulus checks that were given out.
No, well, stimulus checks, absolutely.
Right.
Well, I think that's what it was about. Was people going to poverty? Was people that were given stimulus checks from the government?
Right. But we were. Yes, I agree. We were still on the PPP topic, and that's what I was saying no to. Sorry. Yes, I agree that the stimulus one. And again, this is a Jimmy Dore one. He went. This is one of the things he went apeshit on. He's like, like a bunch of different European countries, they basically put a universal basic income in place throughout the depths of the shutdown and pandemic and all that stuff, where people were getting a $500,000 check a month, depending on family size and all that kind of crap, for the duration. Which again, it changes the whole conversation about shutdowns and stuff, and the whole reaction to a shutdown and stuff. When I know, as a person, if I am not allowed to work because for public safety or whatever, like I know I can survive through this. It's a whole different conversation because I think that's part of why the vaccine hesitancy is less in some of the countries that did some of the stuff like that than it is here, because we don't know. I don't know what tomorrow's going to do. I don't know how tomorrow's going to go, and I know for sure that my government's not going to do a good job of making sure I get through it. And that's the problem at play. is that, whether it's a universal basic income, whether it's stimulus checks, like, this, I don't like the Biden plan. I need to figure out how to fix it. I'm getting stupid child tax credit checks, and I wish I wasn't.
How did we get one in our eVape account?
I'm assuming because we paid our personal taxes out of that account, and so that's the account attached to my personal IRS stuff. That's the account attached, and so that's where they send the money.
Did you not get one this month?
I have not physically gotten one as of late. I need to go check my bank records of when I deposited the last one, because I was getting physical checks in the mail from the Treasury. So
maybe they went to the direct deposit, and now you're getting it in the eBay account.
Right, which I don't understand. I mean, I understand that I'm guessing that's why it's doing it that way. But I emailed I emailed the accounting and asked them about it, and I haven't gotten a response yet, as far as, because I don't want it to show up as income for us, because it's tax. Because that's why I don't want the check in the first place, because I'm going to owe more taxes at the end of the year, because I'm not going to have the title tax credit to offset some of what I'm going to end up paying. Because I'm going to owe money this year, like I did last year, and so this year I'm going to owe more money because I'm getting paid throughout the year, where it would be the tax credit, because the tax credit didn't change. All Joe Biden's thing did was to take your normal tax credit and send it back to you. Instead of sending it back to you on your tax return once a year, he's divided it by 12 and send it to you once a month. Which it's helpful. Yeah. I mean, it's not helpful to me, but I could see how it's very helpful to a lot of people, getting a percentage of it now to help cover rent and food and all the different stuff that they need money for. I could see it being super helpful to people right now. And I think I don't hate the plan. I just hate how the plan's working for me, because I can't figure out how to undo it for me personally.
Yeah.
But I think on a whole, I think it's a good thing. If this thing's going to exist, I think this is a smart way to do it to help people right now. I actually like it. Biden's winning points with me. It's weird. Kicking ass, getting out of Afghanistan. Oh, did you see that they the Pentagon released?
Wait, did you just say kicking ass and getting out of Afghanistan?
Yes.
Like it was a good thing?
Getting out of Afghanistan was a good thing, yes.
Like, okay, so how we got out of Afghanistan was a good thing? I
mean, I would argue that there wasn't a possibility of doing it any better than that.
So
I don't think it was good how we left.
$1 billion worth of equipment and shit with them was a good thing.
How much did we leave in Syria? How much did we leave in Iraq?
How much did
we leave in Bosnia and Herzegovina?
Do you know that Afghanistan now has more Black Hawk helicopters than 85%?
I know I have terrible sources
in the world.
I know I have terrible sources, but my understanding is that they are incapacitated, so they're cool that they sit on the ground there, but they're not going to fly them. It's my understanding.
They're not going to.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of them they fucking throw a grenade in them, and they're like, all right, have fun with that.
Oh, I mean, why?
We should take our equipment. Like,
the answer.
You guys not see the Prime Minister, the Minister of Defense of fucking England said that how Joe Biden left Afghanistan, that he should not be impeached. He should be charged with treason. Fucking England does not like the country. England does not like how we got out of Afghanistan.
Well,
there's so many countries in the world that do not like how we did that. Huh?
Who said this?
The Minister of Defense in
Great Britain.
England. Great Britain, yes. Yeah.
I mean,
not a hearsay.
I agree that when you leave the sandbox, you take your toys home. That's the proper way to do things. I agree.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that, but my theory on it, and this is full theory, tinfoil hat, whatever you want to call it. My theory on it is I don't think the Pentagon thought he was gonna do it. I think that they thought.
No, he said pull all the troops, and we fucking left.
I know, and I think the Pentagon. I truly think that the Pentagon thought that this was a Trump thing. Trump started it. Biden's not going to finish it. So, yeah, we're going to say we're doing what we're supposed to be doing to be getting out of here, but we're really not going to try. Plus, the Pentagon says, well, I need 500 new Blackhawks because the rest we left 500 over there. So, Boeing and Lockheed are getting nice.
Maybe so. Maybe it's going to cost us because we got to refill those things. Yeah.
I mean,
I think it was Mark Esper, or to remember his exact title. But we also didn't expect the entire country to fall within 11 days.
Yeah. Because
no. If you talk to any military person, like I have to say, me being a military guy,
it was pretty clear to boots on the ground that there was no way.
I didn't realize how fucked up this war was, because listening to Obama, listening to Trump, and listening to Biden, like, we were winning the war. Go watch. There's a Netflix series called September 11th. And there is interviews with Petraeus. There's interviews with all sorts of other generals and all this kind of stuff that came out. And through this whole entire war, they were saying, what the fuck is our mission? We don't know what our goal is. What are we doing over here? We got to have a strategy. What the fuck's going on? And from all three administrations, there has been nothing but we don't know what the fuck we're doing. But what we got from all three fucking presidents is we're winning the war. Like, how fucked up is that? Like, that this whole time we've been just fucking around in the sandbox, losing fucking American lives, and there was no distinct what the fuck we're supposed to be doing over there.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Well, I'm sorry, 4 presidents.
Yes.
Bush, Obama, Trump,
yes, 4.
Biden.
Yes, all 4 of them. I agree.
All 4 of them.
I agree. I 100% agree. My point is that I think it was a massive failure in exiting. I 100% agree that it's a massive failure in exiting. My argument is, and it's a null argument because you can't really prove otherwise, is that I don't think there was a way we could have done it better. I
think there is a way we could have done it
better. Let me rephrase my statement. I apologize. I don't think there was will to do it better. I think there was absolutely 1,000 different ways we could have done better, but I don't think there was will by anybody involved, except for Biden, about getting the fuck out. I don't think anybody else that had any button pushing, trigger power, whatever you want to call it, had any real desire to actually fucking leave, because it kept them busy. It kept their jobs. It kept their budgets growing every year.
I don't know if Biden would have left had Trump not declared it prior.
No,
I agree, and it was an election issue. I mean, it was an electable issue as well.
That's bullshit to try to put that on Trump. Like, you can't believe that. Like, how much?
No, I mean, people wanted to get the fuck out, but I don't think without Trump we would have had a hard end date for it.
How much?
Everyone for the past 20 years we wanted to get out of Afghanistan.
You're right, and Trump put a date on it that we should get out, and so Biden, of his other 27 executive orders that turned back all of Trump's shit, he was like, I turned all this other shit back, but I can't go against what Trump said. We need to be out on this date. Like, that's bullshit. Like, you can't believe that. Like, he had no date that he had to follow. He didn't have to follow Trump's fucking deadline.
There
was nobody that did not want to get out of Afghanistan.
Right. I think
I'm not trying to say that.
I think Trump put a political ball in play that, for politics, not because of any respect for Trump and his decision making or anything like that. I think there was a political ball in play that Biden knew, for politics' sake, he had to finish.
I think part of it was Trump had gone back on a number of things to where we were losing face internationally, to where the U.S. was not to be trusted for our word, basically. Because we had turned around and backtracked on this and that.
I agree with you on that, but, like, we could have spent another month, an extra month, get all our shit out of there. Like, the 13 Americans that died in the bombing, they were supposed to leave like 2 hours prior to that.
Yeah.
And there were still Americans, they were trying to get out. So they said, hey, we're supposed to leave. And they were like, let's stick around and try to get these other people out here. And it was fucking chaos and stuff. And then they had the bomber that came through and killed those people. Like, that was cool that they were like, hey, let's stick around when we should be leaving now. So, that's very heroic on their part. But, like,
But so you think if we would have stayed another month, it would have stopped at those 13 deaths? We wouldn't have had 10, 12, 25 more over the next month? 2 months of trying to finish getting out of there better?
I don't know, but when we were just like, let's fucking leave, that's when the chaos erupted.
Right.
Because
that was when they knew that everyone was going to be at a central location.
Right.
Yeah, like
Strategically,
that was when the chaos happened.
Yeah.
But like, I don't understand leaving the vehicles, leaving the Black Hawk helicopters, leaving all the ammunition, leaving all the intel from all our translators, all our people that like those motherfuckers are dead.
Yeah.
Like we left all our intel there that said who was working with us as translators. All like I don't understand that. It was just like, leave the embassy and fucking go. Like
again, I'm not. It's not a proud moment. I'm not happy about the way it did, but I just don't. I at some point the wheels.
I think it went better than it could have.
Yeah, and it went worse than it could. It went worse than it should have, but it could have been better. Yeah, I get it. I follow what you're saying, Sam.
Wait. You said it went better than it could have?
It could have been worse.
Oh, most definitely.
We could have stayed another 20 years.
Yeah, but like we didn't like. I mean, the whole thing is like if you watch like anything else on countries getting overrun and leaving our embassy and stuff like that, motherfuckers are burning shit and like destroying intel. Like none of that shit happened because they were like, leave, go right now. Like it was. I don't know. It just didn't.
It's awful. It's just awful.
So much that went wrong with that.
I agree. It's just awful. I mean, there's no better word that I could think of right now than it was just awful. But it's been awful for 20 plus years, and it'll be awful for more. And we'll go back at some point because we're stupid.
Yeah, I mean, the Taliban basically said like, all right, you got like 3 days before. We're not going to.
And as far as I understand it, they stuck to their side of the deal with Trump. When they made the deal with Trump, that Trump got in so much trouble for, there was no American deaths from the time of that deal until those 13.
The bomb, yeah.
Yeah.
And for all intents and purposes, it wasn't the Taliban that did the bombing anyway. It was some guy that didn't do the bombing and his family that got killed for it. But
the first I ever heard of ISIS-K, and I was like, when do we get an offshoot of ISIS?
Like
they did have an ISIS because the Taliban does not like deal with ISIS. Like it's a weird thing, and so like Anthony works for us when they said it was an ISIS bombing that killed those Americans. He was like, that doesn't make any sense because fucking Taliban doesn't deal with ISIS. Well, obviously it made sense that Taliban's like, no, we stuck to what we said. That was not us.
Right. And I brought that up. I brought this whole topic up, and I didn't mean to go this far into this part of it. And I thought it was great. It was a good conversation. But what I brought it up was the Pentagon released today of their drone attack on who was supposed to be the ringleader of that bombing. Did you see that story?
Mm.
A little bit.
The target was a international aid worker who was, I don't remember exactly what his job title was. It was him and his family. It's like 6 kids. And like, it's like the total was like 10 civilians, and they were all civilians. The target was a bad target. And I remember saying that on the show.
That was the one they claimed that was a target?
Yeah. But I can't remember who it was. Another Crystal and Saga reference. They referenced the article that I think it might have been New York Times. Some New York Times writer went.
You probably had like some kid that 6 months ago was playing Fortnite on his computer, and now he's running a fucking drone in Afghanistan.
Yeah, but some reporter went and found the story on who the people were that were killed in this drone attack, and there was zero tactical point to any of the bodies in here. The guy was I think the report said that he was loading bomb materials into his car. It was jugs of water to take home because they didn't have water at the house. But that was that was the hey, we got the guy that put together this bombing that killed our 13 Marines. And that's where we are now. I don't know if I didn't know if you guys had seen that story. So
that story, I didn't know how much there was to it.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. To finish off the gross that has been the last 20 years, but really gross last month or whatever of what's going on over there. Top it off with hey, we just killed some random people and said that was the bad guy, but it wasn't. And we wonder why they don't like us. But anyway, bottom line for me is I'm glad we're out. It sucked. It sucked being there. It sucked getting out, but I'm glad we're out. I hope we stay out a long time, like forever.
I want to think that, but
I don't think we will.
I think we're going to have some kind of influence there.
Sure. I mean, we'll always have some sort of Black Ops stuff going on and whatever like that, but troops on the ground, bases, all that kind of jazz. I hope we never do that again.
I mean, hopefully it doesn't go into us in Pakistan. Because I know we have ties there. We have ties in India.
I mean, yeah, it's gonna be a long fallout from this for sure. But like you said, Max, there was never a point. Nobody knew what they were doing. They were just there.
Yeah, there was no.
And it turned into searching from Osama bin Laden to winning hearts and minds.
Right, and this isn't the point that AC made on the topic a week or two ago. Is like there was never supposed to be a point. The point was to keep that budget rolling, so that the Pentagon had their money to buy new jets and buy new bombers and buy new fighter planes and buy new helicopters and buy more guns and buy more of this and buy more of that. This is really just
the original thing was to kill Osama bin Laden, and once you killed him, why was that not the exit? We got what we needed to do. Motherfucker, 9/11, they got that orchestrated 9/11.
Right, and it should have been like, see you guys,
leave.
We're out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is where we are. It's the world we live in. It sucks.
Well, it just pisses me off in a fucking being in the military. And it's I don't turn in, when you get out of the military, you got to turn in your gear in, right? You got to turn in your flak jacket, your helmet, your backpack, all your shit. They inventory every motherfucking thing, and they're like, "Oh, you're missing this. We're going to charge you, $20 because you're missing this pouch or whatever shit, right?" They charge you if you don't have your shit. They charge you, and it's
damn.
What the fuck?
Wait,
now
they gave you that shit for free, and now they're going to charge you for it.
No, they lent you it.
They
lent you
they issue it, and then if you don't have it, when you which I had to do it 3 times. When you go overseas, you got to turn your gear in, and so Supply House has your backpack, your magazine pouches, your flak jacket, your harness, your belt, all your shit, all your gear, not your camis and your stuff that you bought, but all the stuff that is steering you.
You turn that in before you would go to another location?
Yes, and then when you go overseas, then you're issued new stuff. Okay. And then when you're overseas, then you turn your stuff back in before coming back. You get new stuff issued when you're in the States, blah, blah, blah. That's kind of how it went. So we did it multiple times, and if you're missing stuff, they charge you for that. And I'm like, well, if I'm missing a helmet, you're going to charge me for that shit. But then you watch the news, and they're like, oh, we left, $1 billion worth of equipment in Afghanistan. It's so it wasn't okay for me to not turn something in, but it's okay for you guys to fucking just leave all the shit here.
Right. And the reality is, no, it's not okay. It's not okay at all. It's just the one of the greatest honeypots in history happened, and it's still rolling because they have to rearm now. And so Boeing and Lockheed Martin are going to start kicking out more helicopters because they got to replace the ones they left. And so government
and all sorts of
those big contracts keep rolling, and those companies that make these weapons and stuff get to keep getting those paychecks. And
good. So the key to this is invest in Lucky Martin.
I see. I did when Biden got elected. And I think I got a 2-cent dividend yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, I get dividends and the stock value went up. So it's a win-win. I need to buy some more. Because I mean, I still get the premise to be that Biden said early on that he was going to hold to the Trump deal and we're going to get out of Afghanistan, and the Pentagon presents their budget and it's larger than it was last year. You're leaving a war. You're leaving the longest war in U.S. history, and you need more budget. You should be bringing back tons and billions of dollars of equipment and stuff that has nowhere else to be, but you need more money this year.
You assume that the largest part of that budget is overseas actual operations.
Right, but you should be bringing $1 billion back and then spread that back out to the other stuff. You shouldn't need to be buying more stuff, right? I would think. Your budget shouldn't need to go up because you have less use. I would assume.
I mean, I say you're buying new stuff that your budget shifts as to your needs.
Right, but my assumption would be when you're getting out of the longest war in U.S. history that your needs go down.
But with technological changes, all of a sudden your budget, if you wanting that 1 or 2 new destroyers or cruisers or submarine.
And sell some of those Blackhawks to local police departments and buy a fucking destroyer.
Well, so
I mean, that's part of what they do.
They still say that like the longest war in U.S. history, being 20 years kind of thing. That is active war, not at war, because we are still in war with Korea. Did you know that?
I did know that.
Technically, yeah.
And we
are on a ceasefire right now.
We've been at the war on drugs for 30 years too. So,
no, I'm just saying we're on a ceasefire with Korea.
You're right.
We are not like.
You're correct.
Was it an officially declared war?
Afghanistan?
Yeah,
Korea.
No.
Korea.
Korea was, because like anyone who joins the military now gets a national defense ribbon because you're still in war.
You're still engaged.
So
you're still at a pause engagement with North Korea, or in the Korean engagement, whatever the term is. Okay.
Yeah.
So we technically declared war upon North Korea or Korea at that time. I think it was one country.
Korea. Yeah, it was just Korea. So I
always heard that we're not technically, or that technically we're still at war with them, but I was never sure if it was an actually declared war per se.
I think we declared all the wars officially until Vietnam.
It ended with a quote-unquote ceasefire. I didn't know if Congress actually voted to declare war or if it was a presidential decree.
Yeah, I don't know the technicalities on that, but technically we are still.
That's what I was heard technically, but like I said, I've just never heard the specifics of how it initially actually started. I'd be curious to find out.
Here's something funny that I just realized let's say Monday or Wednesday. So my dad, I know my grandfather was in the Dutch Army. And he had 100 men, and the whole story goes that he was supposed to defend this hill from the Germans. He had 100 guys there, and how the story goes from my mom is they didn't have the Dutch didn't really have an army, and so they were just recruiting people, but they didn't have any weapons or anything. And they were supposed to hold this hill from the Germans. And my grandfather had a pistol, and he was told to shoot the first person that ran because nobody else had any ammo or weapons. Theirs just was hold the hill with bodies. And so they heard on the radio communication that the Queen left Holland and they could pull back. So he didn't have to shoot anybody, and they all pulled back. And I just learned that he was only in the Army for 5 days because that's how long the Dutch held out against the Germans. 5 days. And then when the Germans overran the country, the whole entire military dispersed, and my grandfather and his brothers, my uncles and stuff, just like women, to hide from the Nazis. And I was like, oh, okay.
Down in the red light district.
Yeah. Yeah. Giving all hand jobs to the Germans.
Do what you got to do. Just
military, whatever.
Get through this thing.
But
right.
yeah, I was like, I just learned that, and I was like, so they were only, that fought off the Germans for 5 days. Good job. You guys are stellar.
I don't even know that the Germans counted them as they just kind of walked through and were like, okay, cool, next.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it took them as long as they took the Germans to walk across the country, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, last call. What do we got? Anybody? Anything else?
Mm.
That was a fun show. I enjoyed
Specific.
that. All right, cool. Well, that's the show, everybody.
Dun, 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 dun,
Sam, you want to do the outro?
dun.
No, thank you.
God. Max, you want to do the outro?
I did it last time.
I've got Sam do the outro a couple times. You want to do it for us?
I don't know. No, I can't do the outro.
Hey,
Oh, I
we're
hear it
almost in
now.
agreement. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We would love it if you follow us. We're glad that you've made it this far into the episode to actually listen this far. If you'd like to leave us a comment, we would love to get your comments on this. Let us know what we're doing great. We're always glad to hear it.
We have a website.
At almostinagreement.com.
Anything cool on that website that people need to know about?
There are wonderful things on this website that you would like to venture as far as past episodes, current episodes. Also, things we're thinking about doing. But also check out our elections link that lets you know what's going on in elections in Knox County.
City of
Specifically
Knoxville.
right now, just the city, but we're working on getting more links to what's going on in our county and also other local elections.
Yeah, we got a crazy 22 ballot coming up. That's almostinagreement.com/cityelections21 to get that information. I don't know. That's it. That's all I got. That was a good outro. Good job, Sam. Good night, everybody.